Okay, so this next portion is actually going to be synonymous within just about any account, right? So what we're going to cover in this next lesson is about the location and then also the languages, how to set those up and how to input those, and how you can also kind of segment them and even exclude some of them if you have a particular target that you don't want to have in your prospect, right? So the one thing about these campaign settings, right? These top 3 settings are, like I said, are pretty much synonymous within the account. I covered them a little bit in the last lesson here, but as you're getting into these campaigns, I've actually pulled up both a YouTube or a display, a search, and a shopping campaign, right? So you're going to see here at the top what we have over here, and let me minimize the bubble so I'm less of a distraction. But you're going to see here at the top, you have the location and languages. Now on search, it's a little bit different because you have like your start end date, and you have these, right? You have your network settings is what these are called. And then in this, the network settings are a little bit different, but you have them here at the top, right? So, but they're going to be a little bit different because this is a shopping campaign, right? Or I'm sorry, a display campaign. So then as you go to the display campaign, they're a little bit different where they have the languages, but it's still location. You just don't have those network settings, right? So the shopping campaign is very much similar to this because you can go on search and display. So it does give you the opportunity, and depending on whether or not you're doing a smart campaign, which I'm going to teach you how to do in the accelerated section, that would be the only reason you would really want to ever change those. Okay. So first off, what we're going to cover as we go down through this campaign, again, I always like this to have the same naming convention, collateral growth, search, SMBs. So it gives me, what my network is, or the company, the network. A lot of times I'll even put text ads if I have multiple campaigns in here, because that's, what our ads are. And then I'll put the targeting out to the right? So I'm targeting small business owners. Now, again, you have the opportunity to select search or display. I always try and keep them separate as much as possible, because of just the fact that even display network campaigns, I'm going to teach you how to, in later lessons, how to, utilize smart display. Those are much better than trying to clump them all together, right? So always go with the search network. Now you have your start and end date down through here. Your campaign URL options, this is for tracking templates, right? So we're going to cover in later lessons on how to input tracking templates through using the dynamic tracking templates that are available through Google Analytics. But we won't get ahead of ourselves too much right here. So again, the dynamic search ad settings, enter a domain. This is a setting that is not, the dynamic search ads are more for, realistically, the qualifier that I always tell people is accounts or websites that have over 10,000 products, right? Because they're designed to make dynamic changes based off of large lists of feeds. So the main focus of this particular lesson is targeting and audiences, right? So how are we going to get in front of our audiences and the targeting locations and how we find them, right? So in this particular point, we're going to first off go through locations, right? Locations can be set up. They have some default ones here. What I'll always do is the advanced search, because I want to actually see kind of more of what I'm doing. And you can do as wide a range as globally. You can do, down to a continent, country, zip code. There's a bunch of different variables. Like we'll even do Nielsen. Let's see. Let's do New York. See, they'll do a bunch of different matches to it, right? New York, New York, New York, New York, New York County. They even do Syracuse, New York, New York, Rochester, New York, New York. So do Greenwich Village. So they'll get down very, very granular. And all you actually do is you just basically hit target. Once you find what you're trying to target, and we'll say we're targeting New York. You hit that in there. And let's say, we're also doing business in, LA, Angeles. So you just type in Los Angeles. We'll do target. Well, actually, maybe I just wanted to target the entire United States, right? So I can hit United States, target, and see how it has those individual areas targeted. So you can even target, even if you are targeting the United States, you can even target the individual states within it. And honestly, that's kind of a best practice that I do if you're trying to target the individual. Like if you have the entire United States where it's your targeted area, and you also, it would be a best practice at least to go ahead and target the individual states as well, right? So you put in, Missouri, Kansas, Arizona, target all those. But let's say I know that Oregon is just, it's not a good state for me, right? So what I can do here is I can actually exclude them, right? So I can do exclude Oregon, and we'll say Washington as well. Now, it'll also give you the ability to target, Washington, D.C., Washington, let's say we want to exclude Washington, right? So if we pull back on this map, you'll be able to see we have some individual targets in there that it's lighting up: Kansas, Missouri, Arizona, New York, the states that I've individually targeted up here. But then my exclusions are right around here. And then we can go even further as well. But let's say we just don't want to target, around Phoenix, Arizona. That's where I'm located. We don't want to do 20 miles around Phoenix. All right. So I can include that. Or I can do, actually, you can't do the radiuses within here. You'll actually have to go back through the exclusions, which I'll show you in just a second. So the other aspect of it that you can actually do. So we hit save here, targets all the locations, right? And let's say we want to do advanced locations. Right. So if we actually go into a campaign here, and we go down to the settings here, we go down to the locations menu here, do this. You can do exclusions. Exclusion here as well. So there's a couple different areas. You can't do radiuses exclusions. They've changed that feature, it looks like. But that's how you would add locations in there, okay? And again, you can even add bulk locations in there. Let's say I want to just I don't want to add them all individually. It's kind of a pain in the butt, right? So we don't want to do radiuses. We'll do that. Hit locations, hit bulk, right? We'll do Oklahoma. Montana, Idaho, Texas. All right. And it'll search for them and it'll find all the locations. Now I can hit either target all or I can even exclude all. Let's say I just want to exclude all those locations as well. All right. Hit those, excludes them all on the map. So that's how you basically put in your locations. Now, again, if you're actually inside of a campaign, it's a little bit different. So the dashboard you can see here, once I have my campaign up, and it's actually running, then you actually have a location area within the menu. Okay, you can do it still in the settings area right here, and it's still kind of the overall structure that you're seeing within setting up the account. All right, or you actually have an entire location tab where you can look at it. You can also run some cool geographic reports out of it as well. So those are the location features within the Google AdWords account or Google Ads account. And it's one of those things that, like, again, you need to make sure that you're not trying to target the world, right? It's better to target the people that are ready to buy right then and there rather than trying to go out and target the world, right? It's not about, let's say you're a travel agent and you're based out of Texas and you're trying to sell packages to Texas, right? Or it's probably not a great idea to run ads to the residents of Texas, right? But it would be a really good idea to run outside of Texas. So you kind of want to keep that in mind whenever you're plotting out your strategy. And you want to make sure as well that you're also targeting people that actually have the ability to visit you as well. Like if you're targeting, let's say, the Kentucky Derby, right? And it's you're selling hats about the Kentucky Derby, then you may not want to target somebody in India. And because, there might be some people over there that are interested in horse racing and interested in Kentucky Derby, but you probably have a whole hell of a lot more that are ready to buy right now with credit card in hand inside the United States or even around the Kentucky Derby, right? So those kind of scenarios, you want to be very, very mindful and strategic whenever you're targeting, because again, it's more about the people that have the credit card in hand that are ready to buy right now. That you can nurture down, within a relative reasonable amount of time, rather than the people that it's going to take months or even years to try and, get into your funnel and nurture down. As you go down through this, again, one of the other most valuable settings that it's literally, this is one of the settings that'll either cost you tens of thousands of dollars or save you tens of thousands of dollars, right? And it's this right here, target. Okay. Now, how it's going to appear within the location menu is right down under here. It'll be under location options. Now you have 3 different options, right? It's people in or who show interest in your targeted location. Now that's what they recommend, right? Now people in or regularly in your targeted location is the second option. People searching for your targeted location. So what you need to keep in mind with this, okay, is again, it's about the people that are ready to buy right now that have credit card in hand. And people might be interested in, something in Texas. They might be interested in traveling to Texas. They might even be interested in learning about Texas, right? But if they're in India or they're in China or in Russia, a continent that's half away, or a country that's, half the world away, the likelihood that they're going to be taking action in a relative reasonable amount of time isn't plausible, right? And this goes more for people that are, the travel agent isn't really a great example because they might be actually looking for travel there. So if they're searching about those locations, then in. But obviously you wouldn't want people in your regularly targeted area. So you'd actually probably want to exclude those people. Okay. But definitely for somebody that sells, trinkets, right? They sell Rockstar Energy, right? Or they sell Monsters, one of the two, right? You don't want to advertise your Monster deal at your local gas station to people that are in, a different country, right? Especially, you're probably not going to want to advertise even your Monster deal to people that are outside of Texas. And, your gas station is in the middle of Texas, right? And all of a sudden somebody picks up an ad that you have this special for 2 Monsters for $2 from California, right? What's the likelihood that they're going to drive from California all the way to Texas to get those Monster deals? It's not very likely, right? So what I always choose is the people in or regularly in your targeted location, right? So these are people that are literally, they've either come in for work and they're a close radius, or they're literally mostly going to be people that are inside your targeted location. So if you're targeting Texas, it's only going to be people that are in Texas, maybe a little bit of the fringe because they visit Texas a lot, right? But primarily it's going to be in Texas. The other option is people searching for your targeted location, right? So this would be something where if you are a travel agent and you're based in Texas and you want to target the globe, right, then it'll show your targeted location is the globe. So it'll target everybody in there. Or if you are in Texas and you're targeting in Texas, but it's only going to bring up people that have outside of Texas or even in Texas that are searching with Texas in their actual search group, right? Or in their search keywords. Now, the other aspect of it is the exclusion, right? You have the same options or limited options compared to that. One less option, but people in who show interest in or excluded locations, they recommend this, or people in your excluded locations, right? So these are kind of self-explanatory. Again, if you want to exclude people in your excluded locations, it's kind of what it is. This is a wider interest because obviously if somebody's searching about, Oregon and, they're in wherever your targeted location is, or they show interest in Oregon, or they're, like I said, in Oregon, then those people are probably not going to be as viable option. The next thing is our languages. Same kind of principle. All right, you can choose a bunch of different default languages that they have them in here. All language, Arabic, Bengali. You probably can search a little bit. Portuguese, they have a bunch of different languages in here. I'm not sure how many different languages there are. But language targeting allows you to strictly, basically, people that have their browser setting in that language. Okay, so if we're in the United States and it's somebody that I'm targeting, they're in my targeted area, but their browser setting is to Spanish or Portuguese for that matter, it's not going to find that person, right? That's going to throw it in the heap of effective targeting methods that you're going to exclude. Okay. So that's really the basic settings within here. Again, now you get into audiences and budgeting, which we're going to cover in the next lessons, more of the advanced settings. The audience is actually a targeting method. So it's not even really a setting. So I'm not even going to go deep into that. But the other aspect of it that I, again, wanted to cover was just how to find the settings. So whenever you have a campaign that you've actually created, it's already live, it's in here, then it's going to look like this, right? You're going to have your dashboard, you're going to have your top navigation bar, your side tree menu, your expanded tree over here where you have all the different, lower targeting and campaign and ad group and setting features. And that's where you're actually going to find the settings. Okay. So all campaigns, you can do settings, and this is where you'll see your campaign settings or your account settings, right? So you have a couple different levels, right? And under the account settings, you have these options: tracking, auto tagging, message reporting, call reporting, inventory type, excluded content, excluded types and languages, then ad suggestions. Again, there's just more ways you can exclude particular content or sites or placements that you find that they're just not profitable for your particular campaign, right? One setting that is incredibly valuable, and this should be something that every single person does, right? Again, we've talked about it, and I'm going to reiterate this throughout the videos, and you know this at this point, is I'm kind of a control freak, right? I want things to happen on a consistent basis within my account, and I want to know that. So one of the things that I make sure to do is I don't like Google getting their hands in certain things, and you definitely need to know this setting, right? You click on all campaigns once you have a campaign in here, and then you go to account settings, okay? Under ad suggestions, click don't automatically apply ad suggestions. You don't need to give them a reason, and then hit save, okay? So what these ad suggestions are is they're things from the recommendations tab, okay? And things from the recommendations tab are not really valuable a lot of times for your particular strategy. They may be stuff that Google just wants you to do to increase what their optimization score is, but they may not be the best thing for your bottom line, and they may actually taking money out of your pocket rather than putting it back in there. So go ahead and deselect that. Again, it's on the accounts settings portion down here at the bottom, and you don't automatically apply the settings, right? Because that way Google won't automatically apply their recommendations to the account. And the other aspect of the settings menu is your campaign settings, right? So this can be found on this tree right here. And when you go down through it, it's just going to look similar to what I covered a little bit earlier. But you have your name of your campaign, what your goal setting was, your Google search networks as well, and you can go back in here and pre-adjust those later. You have your targeting where you can find all of that. And then this is where your languages will be. And I'm going to cut it short there because we're going to hop into the next lesson. I'm going to go more in depth in the advanced settings, how to set them all up and how to control them so you can effectively track your ads much better, identify where they're at. You can control the spend and make sure your ads are, being delivered at the appropriate level and appropriate rate to make sure you're contacting the customers in the most optimized manner. So I'll see you in the next lesson.